How to handle dynamic property value or dynamic object in UFT. That is the topic of this tutorial video. I will show hands-on how we can handle dynamic object in UFT. Welcome to this tutorial video. Dynamic objects in UFT. It is basically HP QTP, and it also, the latest version of QTP is called OpenText functional testing. OpenText functional testing used to called micro focus UFT. Now, in this tool, how we can handle dynamic object that I will show hands-on. First, I will explain what is a dynamic object. Then I have created earlier one UFT automation script that has dynamic object. I will explain that script so that I can show the dynamic object, and then I will handle that dynamic object three different ways, and that I will show hands-on. These two parts I will show hands-on, and this is theory. So what is dynamic object? First I go test object. Test objects are those objects that I store in the object repository, or I create in the editor using set keyword, or I see in the AUT during design time. Those are test objects. And runtime objects are those objects that appear in the AUT during runtime. AUT means application under test. Runtime object. So that runtime object property value can be dynamic. One object can have multiple properties. Those properties will have a value. If those values are dynamic, means every time the page reloads, the UI, user interface, reloads, then the value changes. So dynamic objects are those objects which property value changes dynamically. So that is the definition. Dynamic objects are those runtime objects which property value changes dynamically. So I have given the definition. Now I will show, I have created earlier one UFT automation test script. That I will show in this video. First, I explain what this script does. So this is a data-driven test. A data-driven test. Data-driven test means I will have one script. This is one script. Script starts here, ends here, but I have a test data set here. In the global data sheet and global design time data sheet, here I have a data set. Actually, there are 5 data sets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So same script I can run multiple times with different data sets. So this particular script, since in the test data set, I have 5 rows, 1 to 5 rows, which has value. So I can run the script for 5 times. Each time a script will use different sets of data. So first time a script will take this rows data and run. Second time when a script runs, which is called second iteration, in the second iteration, a script will take these rows of data and a script will run. The third iteration, or when the same script runs the third time, then a script will take these rows data. And so that is a data-driven test. Data-driven test means using same script with multiple sets of data. And here in the data sheet, I have total 5 sets of data, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can maximum run 5 times with 5 different set of data, and we can repeat after that. So this is the data-driven test. Now I have explained the test data. I have explained that this is a data-driven test. Now I show the script, what this script does. First I will show manually. When this two happens, it will close any open the sample my flight sample application. If any my flight sample application is open, a script will close and then it will launch freshly. When script launch, a script will open this page. Now when these 3 pages, these 3 lines of code executes, it will enter HP here, John. John, let me see what is the user ID. JOHN, and then password is HP. I'm manually showing that when I will run, what the script will do. A script will log in. This is the home page. Previous page was the landing page. Now when this many lines of code executes, it will select a value from this drop down list, select another value from this drop down list, and it will select a data from here. It will select a value from this drop down list. It will select a value from this drop down list and click on find. So that is this block of code will do. And then this block of code will select any row which are available. So on this particular example, there are 2 rows. So I'm selecting the second row and clicking on select flights. And then these two lines of code will enter a name here. Let's say MD Shahajada Imran, and click on order. And then this is where I will be capturing the dynamic object. So this object is a dynamic object because every time I run, this value will change. Now 118 completed. Next time if I run the script, this value will be 119. The next value will be 120. So this object is a dynamic object. So I have explained that what this script does, and in this block of code, In this block of code, I am specifying that if there is a runtime error, please ignore store error information into ERR utility object and process to the next step. And here I am saying please go back to the default setting. So that's these two line will do. And this line I'm deleting. This line I do not need for now. This line of code will highlight this object if a script can identify the object uniquely. That is a dynamic object. Most likely a script will not be able to identify because this value will be changed in the next iteration or next run. And it will capture, this line will capture the text properties value assigned into this variable, and then the reporter.report event will provide the variable value in the HP run result viewer window. And this is for error handling. If there is any error, script will show failure. So that is this block of codes task. Now I have explained the script. Now I will run the script, and I will say that there are 3 global iteration in the run. I'm saying run from row 1 to row 3. I can, if I choose run all, then it will run for all 5 rows. There are total 5 row has value. There are total 5 different sets of data in the global datasheet. So if I choose run on all rows, then a script will run 5 times. Each time a script will take different set of data. I do not want to run total 5 times. I will be running 3 times. So I choose run from row 1 to row 3. Means first time these rows value will be used in the script. Second run or second iteration, these rows value will be used. The third run, these total rows value will be used. That's what it means. I'm clicking on OK. Now I will run the script. A script launches this application. It's logged in. This is for the first iteration or first run. It clicked on order button, and now this dynamic object appeared. Dynamic object has the text value order 119 completed. This dynamic object in the object repository I have stored where I used text properties value. So a script couldn't highlight because a script did not identify the object uniquely. Now this is second iteration. A script will be taking the second sets of data and run for the second time. There this object and this dynamic object property value changes again. Now it is 120. It's not 119. The text, this object's text properties value is not same. It's different now in this current run. So this time also a script is unable to highlight that particular object because the script failed to identify that object uniquely. This is third iteration. The script will be taking the third rows of data and run with those data. Since this object is a dynamic object, and to identify this object in the object repository, I used text property, and the text property value is different. In the runtime object, this text property value is different. Therefore, the script is unable to identify the object uniquely. Now a script failed. If I expand, I will see a script failed. If I go the order confirmation number, here the error, it says order confirmation object a script did not find. For the first iteration or the first run, when a script ran with these rows of data for the first time, it didn't find. And then in the second iteration, also it did not find. In the second iteration, a script took these rows of data and ran the script, then also it didn't find. And then the third iteration, third iteration, then also a script didn't find this particular object and it failed. Now I have explained the sample application, which is a data-driven test. I have explained that, and I also showed which object is the dynamic object. I have explained this too. Now I will handle that dynamic object using a regular expression. In regular expression, dot means any single character. And asterisk means previous character for 0 or more times. So these two regular expression I will use to handle this particular dynamic object. This is the dynamic object, and if I go to the object repository, order detail, that is the page name I have given in the local object repository, order detail, and this is the object. When I created the record, when I created the script, at that time, the text properties value was 111. This is the text object. This is the runtime object. Text object and runtime object are not matching because in the test object has the text property which value this value has the number 111. The test object in the runtime object the value is 121. So I will be using the regular expression to handle this. So I'm clicking here. I'm choosing regular expression checkbox, and this value I'm changing to dot asterisk. Any character, any number types. And click on OK. This got changed, and this indicates that I have implemented the regular expression. Now if I run it, a script should be able to identify this object and highlight. And a script will run total 3 times. Each time a script will take a different set of data. First time this rows data, second time this rows data, third time this rows data. And these data are different. Now I'll be running it. Something went wrong, looks like. This is third iteration script is running. A script looks like a script didn't identify the dynamic object uniquely. Let me see what happens once the script execution ends. It didn't identify the object uniquely. Now let me see. Let me troubleshoot that issue. Highlight an application, couldn't identify. Maybe that text space was not there. Yeah. So there was some minor issue implementing the regular expression, but regular expression is one way that we can handle this dynamic object issue. Now it is identifying. If I go to the object repository and select this object and click on highlight in application, it is identifying. Now we run again. This time also a script will run 3 times, and each time a script will take different sets of data because this script is a data driven test. A script identified, therefore it was able to highlight. Now a script is running for the second iteration, and same script is running second time. Second time script is taking the second rows of data from the global datasheet, and it was able to identify that dynamic object. And the script passes. No cross sign means it didn't fail, it's passed. So this one I showed hands-on how we can handle dynamic object using regular expression. Second one would be using set to property. Set to property is a method that changes the property value of the object stored in the object repository during runtime. This is the second approach that I will show how to handle the runtime object. Now this is the test object. This is the local object repository, and this one is the test object. Now I'm making this object, I'm making this test object static again. So I'll be unchecking the regular expression. Now click on OK, and I will take the value again. So text property value is now this one. It is not a regular expression implemented value. It is the static value. It is the static value. It is constant value. Now I will handle using setToProperty method. SetToProperty method will change this value temporarily during runtime. This is a test object. This object has one property. This is the value. SetToProperty method will change this value during runtime. Now before highlight, I want to change the property value of the test object. This is the test object, and the object that appears here, that is the runtime object. So I'll be changing in the test object. So dot setToProperty, first bracket, double quote, text, that is the property name. If I go here, that is the property name text, and the value I want to get from this column of the global datasheet. So to access this column, I will be writing comma data table dot value, first bracket, double quote, parameters name. This is the parameter. This is the name. I'm copying the parameters name. Okay. Double quote again, comma, dt global sheet. dt global sheet to refer the global datasheet. So before highlighting, it will assign this value from when the script is running with the first rows of data, or when a script is having the first iteration. That time a script will take these values, and this value I'm expecting that in next run it would be 128. So I'm manually changing to 128 here. 128. And the next run would be 129. 129. And then following run would be 130. 130. Now I have said that before highlight this object, script will use this value as the value of this object. These objects, these properties, this value. So before running in this line, line number 24, script will change this value to this value in the first iteration, and the second value, script will change this value to this value. The third iteration, script will change this value to this value. Now let me run and see what happens. There is, I have made a syntax error on line number 24. and it will keep another second bracket. I mean, first bracket end, that is what I will have to get. Save. Or no bracket at all. I do no bracket at all. Because I'm not, this line is not assigning any value into a variable. Therefore, I should not be using first brackets. Because I'm not using equal sign and giving a variable so that this line will return something. It is not like that. Therefore, I cannot use brackets. Now I'll be running it. A script is running for the first iteration. It highlighted. A script is running for the second iteration. Same script running for the second time with the second sets of data. It was able to highlight. Now a script is running for the third iteration, means same script is running for the third time with different sets of data. The script was able to identify the object uniquely and it was able to highlight. So a script passes. This one I showed hands-on how we can handle dynamic object using set2property method. Now if I can also use any static property. If there is any property which is not dynamic, then that also I can do. This is what I will show now. Let me see in the object repository, is there any property which has value which is not dynamic? If I go to the list, I see this value is dynamic. The name property value is dynamic. Every time the UI page reloads, the value will be changed. This one looks like a static. This one looks like a static. So I can use this property to identify the object uniquely and use this dynamic, removing the property which value is dynamic. So I've removed it. So now I'm using a property which value is static. Now if I do the object spy and spy this object, I will see there are many properties and their corresponding values. Most of the properties, now I cannot see expert property value. That's because this application is Windows application. This application is not a web-based application. Therefore, expert is not showing there. There are many situations when expert would be the property which value is static. Then also we can also use a dynamic to handle dynamic object. We can use expert as well. Now that I have used this one, now if I run the script will be able to identify this object uniquely. Now I'm running again. Script will run 3 times again. Why it didn't highlight, I have to say. Most likely the property I have used, that property does not make that object unique. There might have multiple objects with the same description properties. Alright. So it worked fine. It collected the data. So the thing was, it was so quick that I didn't see the highlight thing. Now that I have showed all the three different ways I can handle dynamic property development. That was the topic of this tutorial video. Thank you for watching this tutorial video.